In this Camera2 API tutorial using the Kotlin programming language, we're going to display the output of the rear camera on the preview display. Welcome to Mobile Application Tutorials. My name's Nigel. Okay, so moving on here, we are now up to number 5, displaying the results of the rear camera onto the preview screen. If you haven't already, I do recommend you do the previous episodes to see to get up to speed on what we've actually been doing. But if you do want to start this episode straight away, you will need to get the code from GitHub. I will put the details in the site, so you just need to sign up to the site. Don't worry, it's free. Members on the membership plan do get an extra video here describing the process of how to pull down the code and get your project set up to start this particular tutorial as well. Okay, so we are going to be displaying the preview display, so we'll jump straight into the code for that. Okay, now that we're actually going to be making camera capture requests and setting up a camera capture session, we do need to add some more features to our Android manifest file. So I'll go into Android manifest file. And here I'm going to use this feature, Android name. This is going to be a hardware feature we want to use, hardware. And I'm just going to write camera here. It's not auto-completing. And I'm just going to make a copy of this and just go back here, and this will be autofocus. Okay, so we're going to need to add those two. Go back into our fragment file, and we're going to start creating some members here. What I'm going to be doing is just setting the hard coding the value for the preview display, setting a width and a height value for that. I just want to keep it simple for this introduction Camera2 API series. At a later stage, we'll go through all the algorithms needed for when you extract the values from the camera characteristics and you scanning your aspect ratios against your desired preview. I think you get the point. So we're just going to hard code it just to focus on getting that display happening. Okay, so we'll set up private value. I'll just call this one, make it uppercase, max display, max preview width. And I'm just going to make this a little bit smaller, just small HD, not the big HD one. And we'll create another value for height as well. And so just call this height and make that 720. Okay, now we get to the important stuff. We're going to create our let's create our camera capture session first. This is going to have to be a lateinit, and I just got to call this capture session, and I'm going to let the autocomplete. It's going to be a camera capture session, so we need to get a session created before we can start requesting any capture requests. This is what this is for. And underneath this, also create another lateinit. This is going to be a capture request builder object. So we construct builder objects first before generating our capture request. And this is going to be of the type capture request, and it's a builder object there. Okay, so we've got all our variables in place that we need. Now we'll create a preview session. So I'll just scroll on down there. I think I'll put it here. So we'll create a new function for that. And I'll just call this preview session. Okay, I need to get a the surface texture from our previous surface view. So I'll call this surface texture, and I get that from our preview texture view surface texture. Okay, I can use the surface texture to set the default buffer size, which will be our max width and our max height. And then from that, I'm actually going to create a surface from the texture view. So we'll call the surface object, surface class, and pass in the surface texture. And I do need to autocomplete that. That just happened automatically. I'll enter. Okay, I've got the surface there. Now I want to create our CaptureRequest builder, set up a CaptureRequest builder. So we'll call that, and it's equals, and we need to call the camera device, create a capture request for that. And we'll pass in the camera device template preview. So we're creating a capture request object of the type template preview. And once we've got that, it's just a matter of add target, add our surface target, and pass our surface into there. Okay, once we've got those, we can actually set up our camera capture request. So if we call our camera device, and we're going to create a capture session. Okay, that's going to take a number of values. The first value will be the list of the outputs. So I'm just going to call arrays as list and pass in our surface. Okay, the next one's going to be the actual camera capture session callback. We need an object expression for that in Kotlin. Camera capture session state callback for that. Put in the curly braces at the end, press enter, and I'm just going to scroll down here and just complete the last part of this, just so I don't forget, which is just setting the handler to null. Okay, right, so we'll go into the object here and we'll call implement members, and we want to implement both of those. Press OK. And I'll do the onConfigured failed first. It's just going to be a log.e, passing the tag, and passing some text saying creating capture session. Ooh, spelling's gone to pieces. Session failed. Okay, now I'm just going to bring up the full window here. We'll go into the onConfigured session here, and it could be a null, so let's do a null safety check here. So if session is not equal to null, we can then assign that session, which is a camera capture session, to our object. So call capture session and assign it to session. That's good. We've now got a configured session. Okay, let's set up our capture request. So let's call camera capture request. I just want to set up the autofocus for this. We need to call the capture request object. Control autofocus. I just want to have the autofocus happening on the preview. Call the capture request again, and it's control autofocus. Continuous picture is okay for what I want to do with that. Okay, let's move down there, and now I can call my capture session. And for preview, it's going to be repeating requests. We can now pass in our capture request builder build. So that will give us the capture request object. And I'm just going to set null for these. It's just I I don't need a callback to capture anything from a preview. The previews is going to be happening all the time, but I don't care about the preview data. I'm not going to try and capture frames or anything like that. So I'm just going to have this continually being called as we've demonstrated there. Okay, under this, I'm just going to create a function it's basically to close the camera resources. I'll call it close camera. And this will get closed if we're shutting down the application. So two main things we want to close here is the camera capture session and the camera device. So I'll do the camera capture session first. We'll do a check here. We can do a reference on the camera capture session property is initialized. And this is a cunning thing that's been brought into Kotlin 1.2 because capture session is a lateinit value. We can actually do a check by using this reference call to this object just to see if it's initialized or not, which is a nice little feature in Kotlin 1.2 that is. So if it is initialized, we can close it. So call the camera capture session and then close on that. And we'll do the same check for the camera device. And again, if it's not closed, we can just close it. Okay, and we want to call this from a non-pause. And I think I'll call it from the top here, close camera. Okay, that's been done. There's just one more thing to do, which is the preview session. We need to call it, and it should be called from our device state callback. So once the camera device is open, let's call our preview session. Let me put some braces around there. It's no use calling preview session. It's no use calling preview session if you don't have a configured camera device, or you end up in tears. So we can call our preview session. Okay, these should be the only changes we need to make. So the proof of the pudding, so to speak, will be to run this and see if we actually do get a display through the rear camera lens happening. And yes, we can. I think you should be able to guess what this is, but this is just to prove we are actually getting some autofocus happening there, and we're just looking at my Android Studio. So this is proving that we're currently displaying our preview through the rear camera, and that completes getting the rear preview camera display being displayed on our texture view. If we look at these episodes, there was a fair amount of work involved on actually getting us in a position to get to this stage. I did want to make these tutorials a bit shorter, and I definitely wanted to focus on the key points such as camera device, connecting to a camera device before we moved on to this stage, which was setting up a camera capture session and creating our CameraRequest builder objects, which is really important. And once we had those set up, it was a matter of just creating a camera capture session, and in the state callback, waiting for the onConfigured to be called. Then we had a configured capture session object from where we can make our continuous capture requests for our preview mode. So fair bit of work, but hopefully this is about as simple as I can make it for an intro for the Camera2 API, and using the Kotlin programming language does help. So that's the end of the free tutorials. There's two more. I've put them on the premium channel. One is displaying the front camera. There'll be a switch where you can switch between the two. Another one is moving across to the surface view. So you do get power saving optimizations using a surface view instead of a texture view. So that completes this series. I'm still working hard on these videos, so if you want to get notified of any of the YouTubes I make available on YouTube, don't forget to click on that subscribe button. I do recommend you to follow me on Facebook and Twitter. I'll put a handle above there. I make all the announcements there as well. And any questions, please redirect them to Code Mentor. I'm very busy, but I will make time, paid time. You will have to pay for my time to help you out on your projects, or if you need help with any of my tutorials. Anyway, that concludes this tutorial. Thank you for taking the time for watching this one. Bye for now.